Hi, this is Gil Robertson, President of the African American Film Critics Association. Today on AAFCA Roundtables, we're excited to welcome the brilliant emerging superstar, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. So we're going to start off straight away with me introducing the members who are taking part in this call today. My left is Katia Woods in Philadelphia, Reggie Pounder in Chicago, Emmanuel in Chicago, Sharonda in Atlanta, Mercedes Springer in Atlanta, Rhonda Rasha Penrice in Atlanta, Carolyn Hinds in Toronto, KB in Houston, Brandon Collins in Queens, New York, and Ray Cornelius in Atlanta. I'm going to let you guys do what you do so well, and I'll be back shortly to wrap things up.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is
I
E-Man
appreciate
from
it.
E-Man's Movie Reviews out here in Chicago. Brother, I love how diverse the roles you take on are every single time we see you on the screen. It was absolutely captivating to see you in this film, particularly.
Mhm.
I know you did your research on Bobby Seale before the film, especially with you growing up in Oakland with the Black Panthers and everything being familiar. So what do you think is the most important thing audiences should know about Bobby Seale, and why do you think this trial is still relevant for today?
Man, the most important thing. Um, I'll share a little bit about what I felt was the most important for me to know before going in to do this role. And other people may know the history of Bobby Seale, may identify with other things. Bobby Seale was a man. He was a human being. He loves his voice. He loves he loves his people. He's hyper intelligent, and he has dignity and integrity. I think in every good story, um, to me, every good story is about a person who is in love with a thing, and you have a force that is designed to attack and to take away the thing that that person loves. And for me, uh, Bobby was in love with his own humanity, with his rights as a human being, as an American, as a man, as a Black man. And we had this suppressive force, which was the United States judicial system, fighting to take that away from him. So to me, that was the important thing that I had to know, was that he was a man first, and that he had dignity, and self, and a strong sense of self and self pride, um, that propelled him through this trial. I think it doesn't take much to look at the world today, and to see why it's relevant. I think that today, even when I look at why Bobby Seale went to Chicago, he went to Chicago in the first place to protest, obviously, the Vietnam War, but also police brutality and police over policing in Black communities, and not just Black communities, but also just policing in America, the entire system. And today, the parallel is still there, with the conversations and the evidence of over policing, especially in Black communities, police intimidation, intimidation by the judicial system, and mishandling of justice, especially disproportionately when it comes to Black people. And those are all still things that we're still fighting against today. So I think our film can be a reminder of how far we have not come, and also an inspiration, for young people who want to be involved as well.
Thank you so much. And like I
Mhm.
said, I'm looking forward to you in Matrix 4,
Oh yeah.
Candyman, Mad Max. Bro, you out here like a young Sam Jackson. Do your thing.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much.
So yeah, this is Reggie Ponder, the real critic out of Chicago. Chicago's in the house today.
All right, brother Reggie.
My question is, well, firstly, you said that you are so happy to see so many Black faces, and I will tell you that I was not happy to see your face in this trial. What I mean by that is that you even spoke to it as the Bobby Seale character, like I'm not with these people, and I watched this with my daughter, and she cried at the scene where obviously that you were shackled, muffed. Talk a little bit about the emotional energy that you had to use to play that particular role, because it was traumatic. And my daughter's only 25, so watching this from her age, looking at that, it was tough for her.
Yeah, well, Bobby Seale, like I defined him as a man, and when I say a man, when I think about a man, a black man in 1968, I don't mean to define masculine qualities, but I mean to say a human, a human being with the autonomy that he chose to live by. And that could also be ascribed to a woman as well. But Bobby Seale had a personal identity about himself. He also considered himself a revolutionary. And he would say, when you're a revolutionary, they can't break your spirit. So I had to arm myself with that and know that, first my job as an actor was to appear on the behalf of Bobby Seale and his experience. What I experienced as an actor was nothing like what Bobby Seale experienced. Bobby Seale was gagged and taped for multiple days. As an actor in our film, I was, that wasn't necessary in order to show how gruesome it was. But to get back on track, I just really armored myself with the strength and knowing that I was about to step into something that was going to be degrading and that was going to be humiliating, but that would not defeat me. And especially it was important for no one in that courtroom as the actor, for no one to see defeat on my face or in my physical character. That was a complete act of defiance when Bobby Seale spoke out and when he dared the judge to do something. In fact, I've read about how he goaded the judge. This wasn't something that was done to him as a victim. This was, the judge fell into Bobby's trap when he took it too far, and when he had to take extra measures. So the judge was forced by Bobby's wit to show his cards and to show how vile he could be. And so I tried to stack Bobby with a winning hand and to make sure that he was not victimized in that moment. Very difficult to do because at the same time it's still demoralizing and dehumanizing, and it was hurtful. But I, as the actor, I knew that I was on a mission to represent this strong revolutionary and to not allow my own spirits to be visibly broken. And I think that's important.
Well, it's really interesting. Thank you so much for the answer. It's really interesting hearing your answer because everything you said really came across. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you.
Good morning, Yahya. Katya Woods, couple social out of Philadelphia. And one of the things that I thought was really important, I was a political science major, and we actually studied this trial in one of my classes in college many moons ago. And one of the things I thought was very interesting is that the differentiation between Bobby, Abby, Tom, and the rest of those guys, how they weren't thought of as equal in terms of like youth movement. One was thought of more of like a criminal, whereas the other two were more thought of as revolutionary or spirited, to put it in a polite way. And why do you think it's important to show that different perception in the movie? Even though the three of them, oddly enough, were on the same journey, just had different executions.
Because I think that's a great point. At the end of the day, Bobby was Black, and in America, that's the difference. We can walk into a room with the same economic background. You got two white men, one is Jewish. But Bobby was a black man, and in 1968 in America, that holds a different weight. That's a completely different stamp. So all of those guys on that trial were disruptors. They knew they were disruptors. They were proud to be disruptors. That was their calling card. And in fact, if they weren't being disruptors in one way or another, then they would know inherently that they were not doing their job well enough. But a Black man isn't allowed to be a disruptor and to still have freedom, and I think that's the difference. And that was the difference that we saw. That was the difference that we saw in the film. It's the difference that we continue to see today. Even with our own protests, we have to negotiate how we disrupt, and we have to even negotiate the cost of our protest. And so that was one of the luxuries that was afforded to Bobby's other co-defendants that he didn't have himself.
Absolutely, and congratulations on your Emmy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you very much.
Hi, I'm Sharonda, and I wanted to ask you, one of the things that I find really fascinating about this film is really the reception to it, on how so many people say that this film is so timely, that this is what we need right now. But I wanted to ask specifically, as playing Bobby Seale, because I think a point that gets lost is exactly what these men were fighting for in this film is what we've been fighting for in the Black community this whole time. And even by seeing a film like this, seeing it from a different perspective, from a different cultural lens, I want to know, how do you feel this movie will help encourage people and open up society's eyes to truly see the Black community and the Black Lives Matter protesters? How do you feel that this will help the movement from this film?
It's an interesting question. I think when it comes to specifically Black Lives Matter, I had an experience back in March. This was early June, I believe. It was sometime after George Floyd was murdered, and it's going to the gym. It's coming back. I'm in North Hollywood. And I'm walking back to my hotel, and I see a protest. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. The T-shirts, the signs. Maybe 200 people, 250, between 200, 250 people out cutting off the intersection. 95% of that crowd was white. And I'll save my comments on it. I was shocked. I was confused. I was a little bit uncomfortable. I felt, well, that's not even my point about how I felt, but what I saw was that our cause, that it wasn't us out there. It wasn't us out there at that specific location. Now, we were, other places around the country, around the world, around Los Angeles, but at this specific location, I saw this energy. 90% white people, So I think that the similarity is that, like I said, even in the beginning, Bobby Seale was not in Chicago specifically on behalf of Blacks. Bobby Seale was definitely there on behalf of Blacks. And then in addition, he had a realization that, or he had the understanding that the system was so corrupt and, was so evil that it brutalized society as a whole. And so that's what they were responding to in their protests in 1968. And when I look at today, I see, one of the similarities is that people are responding to the brutality as a whole. And as a part of that, that means that our non-Black counterparts in the country, around the world, are having to now come to our aid and be advocates, and to stand up and to voice their rage, their frustration with the treatment of its Black citizens as well. So I think, ultimately it ties into the conversation of responsibility, of finding your place and knowing that everyone has a place and a responsibility in the movement. I think that it could speak to the movement that way.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Hi, Yahya. Mercedes here with She Critiques. I'm a little embarrassed to say that I did not know anything about this story before the film. So,
no.
But in today's climate, we're finding that a lot of people in society are finding out about historical moments and stories that they've never heard of before. Mm-hmm. So my question for you is, how familiar were you with this story before taking the role? And then in preparation for this role, what was the most shocking for you that happened during the trial?
I was not familiar. I was familiar with I was not familiar with the trial. I think it's fair to say that I was not familiar. I was familiar, but so minimally that I can't really even claim credit for that, right? And nothing shocked me about this trial. I think for most people, the most shocking thing would be Bobby Seale being bound and gagged in court. Wow, did that really happen? And when I saw the images, the illustrations, I still wasn't shocked, because that's just the world that we live in. You know, maybe I'm traumatized. You know what I mean? I laugh, but maybe that's true. You know, that is an America that I know, that I've heard of, that I've grown up knowing about, that I'm not surprised by. And you know, but a lot of people are surprised by the story, about the moments of Bobby Seale, about the judge giving out so many contempt of court, you know, charges about having someone so reckless, you know, sitting in the bench. And hopefully, and you know, maybe their shock will cause them to look back in history and to believe our stories. That's one of the things that has been happening, that I've been, you know, I try to follow the conversations of my projects online. And one of the social comments that people are having right now is the fact that they can't believe that the story of Bobby Seale's experience was true. So they go back and they look it up online. They come back and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe that this actually happened." But we've been saying that these things have been happening and worse throughout history. And you know, I'm really glad that the film caused people to, you know, to have a glimpse of, or to just have a seed, you know, of you know, learning about that moment, and then go back and doing the research for themselves, even if the motivation is disbelief. And then they can come back with the, you know, with the understanding that, you know, that America is the America that we as Black people have always described it to be. And that gives them a opportunity to everything is about a call to action. You know, that gives them the opportunity to find their place once again in the revolution. You know, now that you know, what are you going to do about it?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Hey, it's Rhonda.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? If I'm not mistaken, if this is not your first historical role on film, it's one of the rare ones. So with that, how did it change, like the energy or the preparation you put into it, because it actually is somebody who's real?
I think this one definitely came with more responsibility. You know, it was excellently written. It's extremely well written. So that helped a lot to have a well written dialogue, to have good scenes. But I had to go and I had to make sure that at the same time I was an advocate. You know, I was an advocate for Bobby Seale. I wasn't just an actor playing out the role. So I had to look at the script. I had to advocate for him in the script. I had to advocate for him emotionally. Had to advocate for, you know, had to be an advocate for Bobby Seale and for his story with my own performance. So it definitely came with the responsibility of taking care of a real human being's story. Now, as an actor, my preparation, I try to give the same level of commitment and intrigue and curiosity. I clock the same hours for every role that I play. But this was definitely one that kept me up at night for all the right reasons, and got me up early in the morning for those same good reasons as well.
Yeah, one of the things that was also impressive is even when you weren't speaking, like your presence was so powerful, and you always felt you, even though you didn't utter a word.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I try to make sure that I stay present, and in those court scenes, he was advocating for himself. You know, nobody was looking out for him in those scenes, and it wasn't his fault. You know, he was just going to accept any old, you know, person to represent him. He had rights as well. So I appreciate that. It was important for me and for Bobby to stay alert, to always be ready to advocate and speak up for himself, even when he wasn't, you know, speaking. So thank you.
Hi, yeah, this is Carolyn in Toronto. So when I watched this film, two things came to mind. During TIFF, there were two films that came on. One was 40 Years a Prisoner, a documentary by Tommy Oliver, and another one was another documentary about the FBI and their COINTELPRO operation against the Black Panthers. Mm-hmm. And when I was watching this film, I wondered, like, for you as an actor, and as Rhonda mentioned, you're playing a person who is real, and you have to put that energy into into playing a character, and knowing the history of how the Black Panthers was hunted and basically eviscerated by the FBI. What kind of I guess you could say, like, theoretical preparation did you go into? Like, what kind of manuscripts or what kind of court documents did you read to prepare for this? Because the way I see it is, this is at your performance and Bobby's story is a great example for how young people could become more, not only advocates for themselves, but advocates for others as well.
I think that's a very excellent point. As in my preparation, I read Bobby Seale's, one of Bobby Seale's autobiographies, and I watched not documentaries, but clips from they might have been from documentaries, I'm not sure, but clips of Bobby Seale online. I didn't go and read court documents. I didn't read transcripts. I read some of the transcripts from the actual trial to find out what was said, to find out where we were taking creative license, to go and to look and see where we were actually spot on. I also wanted to know what else Bobby said in the trial that was not said in the film. That way I had a real perspective of his mind and what he would have said and what he wanted to say, that our film didn't give him the opportunity to say as well. And that was really the extent. I knew that my real estate in the film was limited, and so I tried to make sure that I could carry the responsibility of what I was asked to do with my screen time in the film. And so my preparation didn't really require me to go through other manuscripts and things like that. That's not to say that it's not important, because it is important, and it will be an important tool to be able to digest movies like this, to be able to understand movies like this, to be able to ask the right questions, and to make sure that we're responsible in our in our discussions and how we digest the films like this as well. So that's an excellent point of direction that you bring up. One of the things that I did learn from the court documents, though, is how often Bobby addressed the judge and addressed the oppressive authorities as racist pigs. He was not very polite he was not very polite in the trial, and he didn't mind. He knew that he knew what he was working with, and he didn't have a problem. What I love about Bobby Seale, he's never had a problem with naming a dog, naming a color, and naming a noun, a noun. You know what I mean? And he's so outspoken and charismatic, loves his words, and he's bold and brilliant. And so I had all of those. I tried to arm myself with that energy and have that in my back pocket throughout the scenes, and to let that come out when I had the opportunities to do that.
No, I totally get that. And like the scene where he says how Fred Hammond was murdered, I thought that was extremely important. I did it not only to the judge, but he told the courtroom what happened, because like the judge was trying to manipulate the story. He was trying to control the narrative, which as a judge is not his position. But I do he knew, the way I saw it was that he knew that he was going to be punished anyway. So he might as well just go full out and say everything that he had to say.
Which I think is a very Mr. Seale thing to do. He was rebellious. He was rebellious. It had to be said, but it wasn't rebellion for rebellion's sake. He had righteousness. A righteous rebellion. To his. He had a righteous rebellion about himself. And it's one of the things that I really, really love about the character.
Thank you. I really enjoyed your performance.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Hey, Yahya, it's KB here. How are you?
Hey, I'm all right. KB, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I love this film, and I felt like I walked away just wanting to know even more about Bobby's story. Yeah. So tell me about portraying Bobby undoubtedly was a great yet heavy process. So in what ways did this portrayal of Bobby allow you to heal some of those kind of like personal desensitized traumas that you mentioned previously? And how did stepping into his shoes fundamentally change Yahya?
What was your first question?
Yes. So I was just saying, obviously it was heavy to portray Bobby. So how did this portrayal kind of allow you to heal some of those personal kind of desensitized traumas that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah. I'm with you.
And then how did stepping into his shoes fundamentally change you?
I think the answer kind of goes, the answer that I'll give answers both. I learned so much about his boldness, I'm bold at times. I think I tend to walk with a certain humility, a quiet confidence, a strong confidence. But on the quieter side of confidence. That's just kind of my way and kind of how I've navigated the world. Bobby wears that shit. He just wears it, and he loves it. He loves himself, loves himself. I'm reading in his book, and I'm thinking I'm talking about the Black Panthers, and I'm reading all about his his sexual conquests and things like that. You know what I'm saying? In his mind, his sharp mind, his education, he loves to speak, loves to hear himself speak. These are good things. These are positive things, especially when as a Black man who lives in a country that has fought tooth and nail to oppress you and to shut you up. He was bound and gagged, and he has an attitude about himself that will not allow himself to be silenced or to be minimized. And that's something that I can learn. That's something that I have put into practice and attempted to put into practice for myself. And I think that that's one of the lessons that I've taken away. It's also and one of the ways that I do cope is by knowing and learning how to identify tools that are specifically designed to oppress me, and people like me. He says, and I'm paraphrasing, but there's the idea that talks about when he was in the hole, when he was in solitary confinement. He talks about not being able to be broken, because they would do their worst. They would not feed him. They wouldn't drain the sewage, and they would check on him, and his spirit would not be broken, and they would become afraid, because he says that I'm paraphrasing, your enemy is going to do the thing that he's most afraid of being done to him. And when that doesn't break you, then you become, in that moment, you become stronger than your oppressor. So I try to arm myself with these type of ideas because they're definitely necessary. They're necessary in this industry. That's necessary just in this world. I try to arm myself with as much positive, revolutionary, maybe reinforcement as I can, in order to survive out here. Because you turn on the television and it's so obvious that we need it. It's key to our survival, our physical health, our mental health as well.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you as well.
Good morning, sir. My name is Brandon Collins from the Media and Popcorn Podcast. Great to see you. You spoke a little bit earlier about the script for this film, and Aaron Sorkin is known to have like a specific kind of rhythm to his scripts, right? And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, as an actor, what it was like figuring out the rhythm for your character Bobby Seale, as well as any direction that Mr. Sorkin gave you and how to like kind of follow the beats he was hoping for with the dialogue and the various exchanges throughout the film.
Yeah, I don't mean to be so short with my response. That's a really great question. There was nothing to figure out there was nothing to figure out. The dialogue. Aaron is so good at writing intuitive dialogue. It's very easy to remember, and the rhythm is very obvious. So if you wanted to break the rhythm, that's a choice. Because when you read it, it tells you everything to do. I think one of Aaron's job, was to write the script and to put it in the hands of really good actors, and then frame the story. So Aaron didn't, in my opinion, and this is a compliment to him for setting himself up for success and putting everyone else in a position to succeed, is that Aaron did a great job with that script, I believe, in putting us in a position to have just about everything that we needed from the script. It was very, very strongly written. The dialogue, the cadence, the dialogue was very, very intuitive. And then I just tried to add my own style, swagger to it that I thought Bobby Seale would have put on. But it was a very, very intuitive script.
All right, thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in Candyman.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you, man.
Hey, Ray Cornelius here from Upfront Inside Atlanta's entertainment industry. First of all,
Right, we've spoken before, right?
No, we haven't.
We've never spoken before.
Never spoken.
All right, maybe have a familiar name or something like that.
Congratulations on your Emmy win.
Thank
Was
you.
so excited that night. I think I was jumping up and down when so many of our brothers and sisters won that night. I want to ask you, I've been listening to all of the questions that you've been answering, and everyone has asked some amazing questions. But I wanted to know, two-part, have you watched the film, and what was your first reaction seeing yourself in this role? And then my second question is, what did you as an actor personally take away from playing this character? This is a real person. This is not, something that's made up. This is real life. But what did you personally learn from this particular character?
Yeah, I always tend to, the first time I watch my films, I go in a room, I get it on the laptop, lay on the bed, I put the covers over my head, over the laptop. I make my world as small as possible, and I watch it, not necessarily nervous, but damn near on the edge of like, I just want to survive. You know what I'm saying? And because you never know what you want to see when I'm acting. I'm not thinking about how I look. I'm just doing my thing, right? But I watched it, so I just wanted to survive. And so I see a scene, I say, okay, cool. I made it out of that one. I see another scene. Cool. I made it out of that one. See another scene. Okay, I made it out of that one. And with this one, I got to the last scene, and I said, "Oh shit, I think I did good," So that was my. If I'm being honest, that was my response to seeing the film and to seeing my performance. And I was happy with my work, and I was happy. I was excited for to share it with other people. So that was my honest response to it. What the film has taught me is that I know what it feels like to say yes to a project that I want to do. I read this one time. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. And that's so important for me. That's one of the things that I'm that I'm reinforcing with myself right now, is that how I say yes and what I say yes to is so important, because those are the scenarios that are going to allow me to succeed. It's going to give me the best chance to succeed. This was the project that I read. It spoke to me. I wanted to do it. And I was able to look at it under the covers, halfway nervous, and I liked the job that I did. You know what I mean? And that feeling is important, because this is an industry where you need to make money, where artists will sometimes work for free, will work for less than what we deserve. And also there's a lot of big numbers out there where we have an opportunity to make a lot of money in projects that we have no business in personally, have no business in for a multiple number of reasons. So this project and the feeling of this project was a reminder to me as an artist, especially where I am in my career. I'm in a very, very stable place. I'm very fortunate, but I am still learning and growing, So I look at this project and I remind myself that of what a yes is supposed to feel like. Outside of that, it's really nice to be part of something that intends to do good, that has the intention to do good, and when it does, it feels really good, and so I hope to line my career with more projects that have good intentions.
Thank you so much, Yahya.
Thank you.
Really
appreciate it.
Absolutely, we appreciate you giving your time, and we want you to know that you can continue to count on us as you ascend to greatness and continue.
I love y'all. Appreciate it. And I'm sure I'll be seeing y'all hopefully
absolutely
many times from there.
And we looks like we'll be seeing you too at the AAFCA Awards.
Hey, there we go.
Celebrate you even further. So enjoy Berlin, and stay safe over there.
All right.
On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film critics, Thank you for watching another episode of AAFCA Roundtables. We'll see you real soon.
Thank y'all. Take care.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.